the invisible thread, the morning light filtered through the high windows of Lumineux Fashion House, casting long shadows across Olivia Reed's workstation tucked away in the corner of the design floor, while the other designers occupied sleek glass offices along the perimeter. Olivia's desk was nestled between fabric storage and the emergency exit, a physical manifestation of her place in the company hierarchy. At 32, Olivia possessed a talent for textile design that should have placed her among the company's stars. Her fingers moved deftly across her sketchpad, creating intricate patterns that whispered of both tradition and innovation. Yet her brilliance remained largely unnoticed, overshadowed by her quiet demeanor and understated appearance. "Olivia, darling," called Francesca Moretti, the head designer, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Be a dear and fetch the Takahashi silk samples from storage. The creative team needs them for the spring collection meeting." "Of course," Olivia replied, setting aside the design she'd been perfecting since dawn, like it wasn't the first time her work had been interrupted for errands that should have been assigned to interns. As she made her way to the storage room, conversations hushed around her. Gabrielle and Dominic, the rising star designers whose work regularly graced magazine covers, exchanged glances and subtle smirks. "Did you see what she's wearing today?" Gabrielle whispered, not quietly enough. "Those shoes must be from last decade. And that cardigan, I swear I saw something similar at a thrift shop window." Olivia's cheeks burned, but she kept her head high. Her vintage cardigan had been carefully selected for its exquisite hand-stitching craftsmanship that her colleagues, despite their prestigious titles, would likely fail to recognize. Her salary as a junior designer barely covered her modest apartment and student loan payments, leaving little for the designer wardrobe that seemed a prerequisite for respect at LUMINAUX. In the quiet sanctuary of the storage room, Olivia ran, her fingers along the fabrics, finding comfort in their textures. She located the Takahashi silks and paused to admire their subtle iridescence. This was where she felt most alive, surrounded by the raw materials of creation. Talking to the fabrics again, Reed, the sharp voice of Thomas Wellington, the company's marketing director, cut through her reverie. "Perhaps if you spent more time networking and less time hiding in storage closets, you might actually advance beyond junior designer someday." Olivia clutched the silk samples. "Some of us prefer to let our work speak for itself." Thomas laughed. Curiously silent, he checked his watch. "The board meeting begins in 20 minutes. Mr. Blackwood will be attending personally, so everything needs to be perfect." The mention of Julian Blackwood sent a flutter through Olivia's chest. The billionaire owner of Lumineux rarely visited the design house, preferring to manage his global fashion empire from a distance. Few employees had ever met him, though his reputation for ruthless business acumen and impeccable taste was legendary. "I'll have these delivered to the conference room right away," Olivia said, moving past Thomas. Back at her desk, she found an envelope with her name scrawled across it. Inside was an invitation to tonight's anniversary gala, the fashion house's most prestigious annual event. All employees received invitations, though Olivia had skipped it the past 2 years. This year's note included a handwritten message: attendance mandatory for all design staff, no exceptions. As the workday wound down, designers dispersed too. Prepare for the evening's festivities. Olivia remained, putting final touches on a revolutionary textile pattern that combined sustainable materials with luxury aesthetics. It was this kind of innovation that had earned her a position at Lumineux despite her lack of connections or pedigree. She slipped the designs into her portfolio. Tonight, perhaps she would find the courage to show them to someone who could champion her vision. The deep breath, she gathered her things and headed home to prepare for an evening where she would, once again, be the invisible thread in Lumineux's tapestry, essential but unseen. Gilded Whispers, the Lumineux Anniversary Gala, transformed the company's headquarters into a cathedral of opulence. Crystal chandeliers suspended from the ceiling cast prismatic light across the marble floors, while champagne flowed freely from fountains flanking the grand staircase. Fashion industry elites mingled with celebrities and investors, their laughter rising above the string quartet's melodies. Olivia arrived wearing her finest Creation, a midnight blue gown she'd designed and sewn herself, featuring an innovative the textile technique that made the fabric appear to ripple like water with each movement. She'd spent months perfecting it during late nights after work, creating something beautiful from remnant fabrics discarded by the design team. Ms. Reed greeted the doorman with a polite nod, checking her name against the guest list. "You've been assigned to assist with VIP wardrobe emergencies this evening. Please report to the backstage area." Of course, Olivia thought bitterly. Even at a celebration of the company's achievements, she wasn't deemed worthy of attending as a proper guest. She made her way through the crowd, painfully aware of the difference between her handmade gown and the designer labels. Adorning everyone else, backstage was organized chaos. Celebrities and fashion icons prepared for the runway segment of the evening, where Lumineux would preview exclusive pieces from their upcoming collection. Olivia moved efficiently between racks of clothing, making quick alterations and solving wardrobe malfunctions with a seamstress kit she always carried. "You girl, the one with the pins," called Veronica Lancaster, the company's infamous public relations director. "Model Elise Dumont needs her gown shortened immediately. It is dragging on the floor." "I'm actually a designer, not," Olivia began. "Designer. Seamstress, whatever," Veronica waved dismissively. "Let's fix it before she trips and sues us all." Swallowing her pride, Olivia knelt beside the supermodel, expertly pinning the hem while Veronica continued barking orders into her headset. After finishing the alteration, Olivia noticed a diamond brooch left behind on a dressing table apiece, meant to accent the opening look of the show. Realizing its importance, she grabbed the brooch and hurried toward the runway entrance. Had to cross through the main ballroom to reach the stage manager. And as she navigated through the crowd, she became acutely aware of the stares and whispers following her. Who let the help into the main event? She overheard Gabrielle say to a circle of influential designers and fashion critics, "Look at that dress, obviously homemade." Dominic snickered. He's probably sewed it with her grandma's machine.
"How quaint."
"Someone should tell her this isn't a costume party," added Thomas Wellington, loudly enough for nearby guests to join in their amusement. Olivia froze. It's the diamond brooch clutched tightly in her palm. The room seemed to tilt as laughter rippled. Through the gathering, she contemplated retreating to the safety of the backstage area, but the crowd had closed in around her. "I wonder how she even got past security," remarked Francesca, the head designer. "This event is for Lumineux family, not the cleaning staff." Before Olivia could respond, the crowd parted like a wave receding from shore. A tall figure in an impeccably tailored black suit approached Julian Blackwood himself, his commanding presence silencing the room. At 45, the billionaire carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had nothing left to prove. His dark hair was threaded with silver at the temples, and his steel-gray eyes surveyed the scene with piercing intelligence. "Moretti," Julian addressed Francesca coldly. "I couldn't help but overhear your commentary." Francesca's smile faltered. "Mr. Blackwood, we were just having a bit of fun." "This is Olivia Reed, one of our junior designers who's helping with backstage duties tonight." Julian's gaze never left Olivia's face, his expression unreadable. The silence stretched uncomfortably as the entire room watched the exchange. "How you see yourself, Olivia? As the help?" he asked, his deep voice carrying easily through the hushed ballroom. Olivia lifted her chin slightly. "No, sir. I see myself as a designer who happens to be holding a very expensive brooch that needs to reach the stage manager immediately." A hint of a smile touched Julian's lips. Without breaking eye contact with Olivia, he extended his hand. "Allow me to escort you. I was headed that direction myself." Murmurs of confusion rippled through the crowd as Julian placed his hand lightly on the small of Olivia's back, guiding her through the parting guests. They had nearly reached the stage entrance when Veronica intercepted them. "Mr. Blackwood, the investors are asking for you." "I'm sure I can have someone else escort this staff member wherever she needs to go." Julian's expression hardened. "Curious, Miss Lancaster, that you don't recognize the designer of the centerpiece for our spring collection?" He turned to the gathered crowd, his voice projecting effortlessly. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Olivia Reed, whose revolutionary sustainable textile design will be the cornerstone of Lumineux's new direction." Shocked gasps and confused glances circulated through the audience. Francesca stepped forward, her face pale. But sir, we haven't approved any. I approved it this morning, Julian interrupted. After reviewing all submissions personally, Ms. Reed's work stood out as exactly what this company needs to move forward in an industry that demands both innovation and conscience. He turned to Olivia, whose world had just tilted on its axis. Isn't that right, Olivia? She found her voice despite her racing heart. That's correct, Mr. Blackwood. Julian smiled fully now, a warm expression that transformed his stern. Features, please. After all these years, I think you can call me Julian. He addressed the stunned gathering once more. Ms. Reed isn't just a talented designer. She's the woman who saw potential in me long before anyone in this room knew my name. And with that enigmatic statement hanging in the air, Julian Blackwood, billionaire owner of the global Luminu empire, led the overlooked junior designer toward the stage, leaving behind a wake of astonished faces and frantically whispered questions about the mysterious connection between the fashion world's most powerful man and the woman they had all dismissed as nobody. Unraveled histories. The morning after the gala, Luminu headquarters buzzed with speculation. Employees who had never acknowledged Olivia's existence now smiled eagerly as she passed, their curiosity barely contained behind polite greetings. Her workstation, previously isolated, had mysteriously migrated overnight to a prime corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city skyline. Olivia sat at her new desk, his fingers tracing the edge of a sleek computer that had replaced her outdated model. On the wall hung her textile designs, the very ones she'd kept hidden in her portfolio, now framed and mounted like precious artwork. The transformation was so sudden that it felt like stepping into someone else's life. A gentle knock interrupted her thoughts. Veronica Lancaster entered, her usually commanding presence subdued. Olivia, Mr. Blackwood has requested your presence in the executive conference room. She hesitated. Everyone is ... waiting. Everyone? Olivia asked, gathering. Her tablet, the board, creative directors, department heads. Veronica's smile was strained. It seems there are some announcements to be made. As they walked through the design floor, Olivia felt the weight of stares following her. Yesterday, she had been invisible. Today, she was the center of the company's attention, a position as uncomfortable as it was unfamiliar. The executive conference room fell silent as she entered. Around the massive table sat Lumino's leadership team, with Julian at the head, commanding attention in a charcoal suit that matched his eyes. He stood when she entered.
Olivia, thank you for joining us.
Please. He gestured to the empty chair. At his right, a seat, usually reserved for the company president. Thomas Wellington cleared his throat. Mr. Blackwood, before we begin, perhaps you could clarify certain matters for the team. Last night's events have left us all somewhat confused about Ms. Reed's position. Julian's expression remained neutral. Of course. That's precisely why I've called this meeting. He turned to Olivia. With your permission? She nodded, suddenly understanding what was coming. Years ago, Julian began, I wasn't the owner of Luminu. I was a struggling business student with a passion for the fashion industry, but no connections or family wealth to help me break in. I took night classes at the Metropolitan Design Institute while working days as a retail manager to pay my bills.
8.
Walked to the window, looking out at the city. In that night, class was a young woman, barely out of high school, who had earned a partial scholarship through sheer talent. She was creating textile designs that the instructors' industry veterans couldn't comprehend because they were so far ahead of their time. Olivia watched as the executives exchanged glances, the realization dawning on their faces. That woman was Olivia Reed, Julian continued. While everyone else dismissed my business plans as unrealistic, Olivia stayed up late helping me refine them. When I had the opportunity to pitch to my first investor, she created the visual materials that convinced him to take a chance on me. He returned to the table, resting his hands on the polished wood. We were young, ambitious, and believed we could change the industry together. We made a pact that when I succeeded in building my company, she would lead its design vision. Jessica shifted uncomfortably in her seat. If you had this? History, why did Ms. Reed join Lumineux as a junior designer 3 years ago? Surely you would have given her a director position immediately. Julian's gaze hardened. Because I didn't know she had applied. Because someone in HR decided her resume wasn't worth passing along to executive review, despite her exceptional portfolio. Because somewhere along the way, as Lumineux grew, we began valuing pedigree over talent. He looked at Olivia, genuine regret in his eyes. We lost touch after I secured my initial funding. I moved to Paris to apprentice with established fashion houses, learning the business from the inside. Olivia pursued her design education. We promised to reconnect when the time was right, but life got complicated. I tried reaching out when I applied to Lumineux, Olivia said quietly, finding her voice. But companies like this have layers of gatekeepers specifically designed to keep people like me from reaching people like you. The room fell uncomfortably silent as her words sank in. I recognized her work instantly, Julian continued. When I began reviewing design submissions for our sustainability initiative last month, there was one portfolio that stood out: the same innovative approach, the same meticulous attention to detail I remembered from years ago. I checked the designer's name and finally found Olivia. Thomas leaned forward. So last night at the gala was my way of correcting a long overdue mistake, Julian finished. Olivia's sustainable textile innovations aren't just beautiful, they're the future of this industry. While our top designers have been creating minor variations on existing themes, she's been revolutionizing the very materials we use. He turned to Olivia. I'm promoting you to Creative Director of Sustainable Innovation, effective immediately. You'll have your own team, budget, and complete creative control over our new Ecolux line. The executives exchanged alarmed glances. Francesca's face had gone pale. But sir, she protested, creating a new division requires board approval. Market research all completed, Julian interrupted. The board unanimously approved this direction last week. The market research shows sustainable luxury as the fastest growing segment in fashion. The only missing piece was finding the right person to lead it. He looked at Olivia. And now we have. As the meeting continued, Olivia's mind drifted back to those nights in the design school studio, where she and Julian had shared dreams over cheap coffee and sketches. She remembered his intensity, his vision, and the connection that had formed between two outsiders who understood what it meant to fight for recognition in an industry built on exclusivity. They had been more than friends, but less than lovers kindred. Spirits whose paths had diverged, but whose promises had remained unbroken across the years. Now, sitting beside him in a room full of fashion power players who had dismissed her just yesterday, Olivia felt the weight of their shared history and the uncertainty of their future. The meeting adjourned, and executives filed out with congratulatory words that couldn't mask their confusion and concern. Soon, only Olivia and Julian remained in the vast conference room. You didn't have to do all this, she said finally. Julian's professional facade softened. I made you a promise, Olivia. I'm a man who keeps his word, even if it took me far too long. And what about the rumors that will start? The assumptions people will make about how I earned this position? He leaned back in his chair, studying her with those perceptive gray eyes. Since when has Olivia Reed cared what other people think? The brilliant, stubborn woman I knew would let her work silence the critics. A smile tugged at her lips. Woman grew tired of fighting the same battles every day. Then let me fight alongside you this time, he said, his voice low and sincere. Partners, just like we planned. Better late than never? As Olivia considered his words, she realized that the past had unraveled into the present, threading together. A future neither of them could have imagined during those late nights in design school. The question now was whether that thread would bind them together or simply tangle their professional lives in complications neither was prepared to face. Fragile Facades, the fashion world's reaction to Olivia Reed's meteoric rise, was swift and merciless.
I'll buy it.
Industry blogs buzzed with speculation. Fashion magazines ran profiles analyzing her overnight success, and competitors scrambled to launch their own sustainable initiatives. Within Lumineux, the atmosphere had transformed into something equally unrecognizably delicate dance of deference, tinged with skepticism. Olivia's new office suite occupied the corner of the executive floor. Its walls adorned with her framed textile innovations and sustainability awards hastily acquired from storage. Her team handpicked from various departments watched her with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension as she outlined her vision for the EcoLux line. The fabrics should feel indulgent while leaving minimal environmental impact, she explained, spreading samples across the conference table. These biomaterials mimic silk but require no water in production. These plant-based leathers breathe like animal hide but are completely cruelty-free. Penelope Wright, a senior designer who had previously worked under Francesca, raised a perfectly manicured hand. With all due respect, Director Reed, luxury consumers expect certain traditional elements. The market research suggesting otherwise might be ... optimistic. Olivia recognized the carefully veiled challenge. Actually, Ms. Wright, our consumer surveys show 78% of high-net-worth millennials prioritize sustainability in luxury purchases. But I appreciate your concern for tradition. Perhaps you could lead our heritage integration workstream? Penelope blinked, disarmed by Olivia's diplomatic counter. Yes, that would be suitable. After the meeting, Olivia returned to her office to find Francesca waiting, elegantly draped across a visitor chair. The head designer's smile didn't reach her eyes. Olivia, darling, your presentation to the team was ... interesting. Her manicure casually. I just wanted to offer some friendly advice, one creative to another. I'm listening, Olivia replied, settling behind her desk. This industry runs on relationships. Julian may have given you a title, but earning respect takes more than a dramatic announcement at a gala. Francesca leaned forward. People are talking. You know about you and Julian? It's about how a junior designer suddenly became his ... favorite. The implication hung in the air between them. Olivia felt her cheeks warm but kept her expression neutral. And what exactly are they saying, Francesca? Only that it's quite the coincidence a previously unknown designer catching the eye of a billionaire bachelor. Quite the fairy tale. Her tone sharpened. Unless there's more to the story than we've been told. Olivia met her gaze steadily. My work caught Julian's attention because it's innovative. If you're suggesting anything else, perhaps you should direct your questions to him. Francesca stood, smoothing her designer skirt. Just be careful, darling. Glass slippers can break. So icily after she left, Olivia exhaled slowly, trying to steady her nerves. The door opened again without a knock and Thomas Wellington strode in, tablet in hand. Reed, we need to discuss the press strategy. He didn't wait for an invitation before sitting. The industry is buzzing about your relationship with Blackwood. We need to control the narrative. There is no relationship beyond professional respect, Olivia countered. Thomas laughed. Please, no one believes that. It doesn't matter. Perception is reality in fashion. The question is how we leverage this to Luminu's advantage. Before Olivia could respond, her assistant interrupted through the intercom. Director Reed, Mr. Blackwood is on line 1. Thomas raised an eyebrow. Speak of the devil. This is private, Thomas, Olivia said firmly, reaching for the phone. He rose reluctantly. We're not finished with this conversation. The board meeting is tomorrow, and you'll need allies. Consider my offer to help manage your public image alone. At last, Olivia answered the call. Julian, bad time? His voice was warm, a contrast to the chill that had followed her all day. Just navigating the politics? Everyone has suddenly developed opinions about my work, my background, and apparently, my personal life. Julian sighed. Expected as much. The vultures are circling. How are you holding up? I've faced worse, she said, though her voice betrayed her exhaustion. But I didn't anticipate becoming the subject of company gossip quite so quickly. I should have prepared you better. This industry feeds on speculation. There was a pause. Have dinner with me tonight. Not as boss and employee as old friends, who need to catch up properly. Olivia hesitated. Won't that just fuel the rumors? Probably, Julian admitted. But I'm past caring what people think, aren't you? After they hung up, Olivia stood by the window, watching the fashion district. Bustle below. Her reflection stared back, designer clothes now replacing her thrift store finds. Tear professionally styled, the outer transformation complete. Yet beneath it all, she was still the same person who had eaten lunch alone at her desk just days ago. The afternoon brought a parade of unexpected visitors. Designers who had never acknowledged her now presented collaboration ideas. Executives who couldn't remember her name now invited her to exclusive industry events. Even Gabrielle, who had mocked her dress at the gala, arrived with an expensive peace offering, a designer handbag that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly rent. "I simply had to apologize for any misunderstanding," Gabrielle gushed. "I've always admired your aesthetic, so ... authentic." Olivia accepted the gift with a polite smile, recognizing the transparent attempt to curry favor. As the day progressed, the pattern continued in sincere apologies, strategic alliances, carefully crafted compliments. By late afternoon, her office overflowed with flowers, gift bags, and business cards from people who had ignored her existence for years. When her assistant announced Dominic's arrival, Olivia almost refused to see him. But curiosity won out. Unlike the others, Dominic entered without pretense. "I'm not here to apologize or kiss up," he said bluntly. "I'm here because your textile innovations are genuinely brilliant, and I was too arrogant to notice before." Honesty was refreshing. "Thank you, Dominic." "Don't thank me yet." He handed her a tablet. "The creative team has been monitoring social media. If the industry thinks you're Julian's mistress, his secret wife, or an illegitimate daughter he's grooming to take over the company, take your pick of scandals." Olivia scrolled through the articles, each more sensational than the last. "Wonderful," she muttered. "There's more," Dominic continued. "Francesca is rallying support among the board members, suggesting your promotion. Threatens Lumino's established aesthetic. She's presenting a counterproposal tomorrow. Traditional luxury with minimal sustainability elements." Olivia set down the tablet. "Why are you telling me this?" "It's because talent deserves recognition, regardless of politics." He shrugged. "And because I've spent 3 years watching Francesca take credit for other people's ideas, including mine." After Dominic left, Olivia immersed herself in preparation for the board meeting, developing data-driven presentations that would demonstrate the market potential of her vision. Hours passed as she refined projections and gathered supporting research. A soft knock interrupted her focus. She looked up to find Julian standing in her doorway, suit jacket slung over his shoulder, tie loosened. "You stood me up for dinner," he said, though his tone held no accusation. Olivia glanced at the clock, nearly midnight. "I'm sorry. I lost track of time preparing for tomorrow's board meeting. Apparently I need to defend my division's existence." Already, Julian stepped into the office, surveying the chaos of fabric samples, market reports, and presentation drafts. "Francesca's counterproposal? I heard you knew." "I know everything that happens in my company," he replied, settling into a chair across from her. "I also know you're more than capable of handling it. The board might disagree, especially with all the rumors circulating about us." She gestured toward Dominic's tablet. "Apparently I'm either your secret lover or your long-lost daughter, depending on which fashion blog you read." Julian laughed, a genuine sound that cut through the tension. "I've been the subject of ridiculous speculation for years. You get used to it. It's easy for you to say. You've earned your position." She trailed off. "Slept your way to the top?" He finished bluntly. "Let them think what they want. Tomorrow, you'll show the board exactly why you deserve that office." Their eyes met across the desk, years of history suspended between them, the ambitious students they had been, the successful professionals they had become. And something else, something unresolved that neither dared name. "We never did have that proper catch-up," Julian said softly. 12 years is a long time. Too long," Olivia agreed. "But right now I need to focus on saving my division before it even launches." Julian nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Then let's get to work. Partners, remember." As they settled in to prepare for the battle ahead, Olivia realized that beneath the glamorous facade of Luminu lay the same challenges she had always faced, proving her worth in an industry built on appearances. The difference now was that she no longer fought alone, though having Julian as an ally brought complications neither of them had anticipated when they'd made their youthful pact so many years ago. Woven destinies. The boardroom fell silent as Olivia concluded her presentation. Charts displaying projected growth, sustainability metrics, and market research filled the screens behind her. Across the table, Francesca sat with a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes, her own presentation materials untouched. "Thank you, Director Reed," said Evelyn Hargrove, the board chairwoman. "Your vision for the Ecolux line is unexpected but compelling." She turned to Julian, who had remained silent throughout. "Mr. Blackwood, your thoughts?" Julian leaned forward. "The numbers speak for themselves. Olivia's direction isn't just ethically sound, it's financially brilliant. The question isn't whether we should pursue this initiative, but how quickly we can bring it to market." Francesca cleared her throat. "With respect, my alternative proposal won't be necessary," Evelyn interrupted, surprising everyone. "Board has seen enough. We're unanimously approving Director Reed's proposal and allocating additional budget for expedited development." Outside the boardroom, reality shifted again. The whispers didn't stop, but they changed tone from scandalous speculation to professional respect. Olivia's team expanded, her designs featured in major publications, and 6 months later, the Ecolux line debuted to critical acclaim and commercial success. On the night of the launch party, Olivia stood alone on the rooftop terrace of Lumineux Tower, taking a moment away from the celebration below. The city lights sparkled beneath her like earthbound stars. "Hiding from your admirers?" Julian's voice came from behind her. She turned, smiling, just catching my breath. "It's been quite a journey." From the design school studio to here, you joined her at the railing. "You proved them all wrong, just like I knew you would." "You proved them wrong," she corrected. "Partners, remember?" Julian's hand found hers on the railing. "About that partnership. I've been thinking. Lumineux is expanding globally next year. We'll need someone to oversee creative direction across all markets." "And you want me to find this person?" Olivia asked. He laughed. "I want you to be this person, Chief Creative Officer of Lumineux Worldwide." Olivia stared at him in shock. "Julian, that's long overdue," he finished. "But there's a complication." "Of course there is," she sighed. "The rumors about us still haven't died down." Julian turned to face her fully. "I'm not concerned about rumors. Concerned about ethics. As CEO, I shouldn't date my chief creative officer." "Date?" Olivia's pulse quickened. "Haven't even had dinner yet." "We could change that," he said softly. "Tonight. After you decide what matters, more as a corporate ladder, or exploring what might have been between us 12 years ago." Olivia considered the choice before her. "What if I want both, and we find a way to make it work?" Julian replied. "Together." She thought of the journey that had brought her here from overlooked designer to industry innovator, and realized that the same courage that had driven her career could guide her heart as well. "I'll take the job," she decided, "and dinner. The board will just have to adapt to a new kind of partnership." Julian smiled, relief and joy transforming his features. "They already have. The approval for your promotion came through this morning with the stipulation that our personal relationship be disclosed and managed appropriately." "You planned this," Olivia realized, laughing. "I learned from the best strategist I know," he replied, drawing her closer. As they rejoined the celebration below, Olivia entered, not as the invisible thread she had once been, but as the essential fiber in Lumineux's fabric, valued, and finally, in her rightful place. The fashion world that had once dismissed her now looked to her for direction. And the man who had seen her potential from the beginning now stood beside her as both professional partner and something more. Their story, woven through years of separation and reconnection, had created something stronger and more beautiful than either could have designed alone, a tapestry of second chances and dreams fulfilled, stitched together with the resilient thread of two people who had finally found their way back to each other